All right. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for being here for our Best of Texas Counselor update today from Texas Tech University and the University of Houston. Before we get started today, we do have just a couple of quick housekeeping announcements for you. We are already utilizing Zoom webinar today, so we have disabled your microphone and your camera. So if you're trying to start both of those, don't worry about it. You don't need those today. We have disabled the chat function of today's session, but if you do have any questions, we have a host of staff available to answer anything that you have. We'll be utilizing the Q&A feature today. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a button there that says Q&A, and you can just put your questions directly in there for our staff to answer on the back end. Because we do have two institutions that are here today, we do ask that you preface your question either with TTU at the beginning for Texas Tech University or U of H at the beginning for the University of Houston. And that will just allow us to really have the appropriate rep from each institution answer that question that you have. And then finally, we will be sharing today's presentation and a recording of today's presentation after we finish our events at the end of next week. But once again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to kick things off here with Texas Tech University, and I'll present first. And then once we finish here, I'll pass it over to our friends at the University of Houston to present updates from their institution as well. But my name is Rex Oliver. I serve as our Director of Recruitment in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and it's my pleasure to be here with you. We just wanted to start by thanking you for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule at the beginning of the school year to join us for some important updates from our two institutions. I'm going to start things today by showing you just a quick video about Texas Tech, and then we'll get going with our slides.
Flying Red Horsemen leads the Red Raiders from Texas Tech on to the field.
And the Texas Tech Red Raiders are headed to the College World Series.
I don't know if that excites you, but every time we here at Texas Tech see that video, it just makes us love Texas Tech University even more. But today's presentation is really going to focus in three parts. The first part here is really just going to provide some general information about who we are at Texas Tech, and then we'll shift focus into some of our very important policy changes for this admission cycle for the class of fall 2022. And then we'll finish up the Texas Tech portion by talking to you about some specific information about admissions and scholarships. So we'll kick things off. Texas Tech University is located in Lubbock, Texas. Lubbock, Texas is in the west panhandle of the state. We're a community of about 250,000 residents. Our current student population as of fall 2020 was 40,322 students. Now, we haven't reached our official census date for this current class of fall 2021. We'll have that here in a couple of weeks, and we are expecting to be over that 40,322 mark for this current fall semester. Our average unweighted GPA here at Texas Tech is a 3.6 GPA on a 4.0 scale, and we are very happy to maintain our current student-to-teacher ratio. We've actually decreased our student-to-teacher ratio over the last few years, but we're currently sitting at about a 19-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with where Lubbock is, you can see it here on the map that's on the slide in front of you. One interesting thing that we always like to share is that actually more than 78% of our new students come from further than 300 miles away from their home to enroll at our university. So we're not your your suitcase campus, we provide a traditional 4-year residential experience. Hopefully it's 4 years and no longer than that for students. But we provide that traditional residential experience on our campus. We enroll students from every county in Texas, all 50 states in the United States, and over 100 different countries. Our out-of-state population is hovering right at the 8% mark currently. So our enrollment at the university is about 8% from outside the state of Texas. But again, 78% come from further than 300 miles away. Just to talk to you a little bit about some of our statistics and our access programs that we have at the university, and also some opportunities for your students. Texas Tech is currently one of only 16 institutions in the United States that's been designated as both a Carnegie Highest Research Activity institution and a Hispanic serving institution as well. Our threshold past that our population passed that 25% threshold of students of Hispanic population to be designated as a Hispanic serving institution a few years ago. We've really pride ourselves on diversity here at the institution. We are a diversity champion as named by Insight into Diversity magazine, but 42% of our current student populations identify themselves from being from a racial ethnic minority. We're also very proud of our work with the LGBTQIA population. The Campus Pride Index has ranked us 5 out of 5 stars most recently, but Texas Tech is actually ranked number 2 in the state of Texas and number 46 in the United States for our programs related to supporting the LGBTQIA population. Nearly 25% of all of our students here at Texas Tech identify as first-generation college students. We have a very strong mentorship program for first-generation college students, and a lot of different programs available to help support that population through our Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I know everyone always likes to talk about the money. Last year, Texas Tech awarded over $170 million in scholarships to 50% of our students. And that's just scholarships. That's the free money that students don't have to pay back. Overall, big picture with financial aid, we actually awarded over $346 million to 70% of the students that go to Texas Tech. That can be scholarships, that can be grants, work study, anything to really help students fund their education while they're here with us. As far as our academic opportunities go, Texas Tech was the first institution in the United States, first institution in Texas, pardon me, to have a graduate school, a law school, and a medical school, all housed on the same campus as our undergraduate campus. Our Health Sciences Center based in Lubbock is actually a level 1 trauma center, and so students get a lot of hands-on learning experiences just by naturally taking their classes in the same building as our county hospital. We are very excited that in fall 2021, we started our first class for the School of Veterinary Medicine. We are the second School of Veterinary Medicine in the state of Texas now, but again, our inaugural class just started a few weeks ago, and we could not be more excited for that to get going. At Texas Tech, we have 10 academic colleges, which you can see those colleges listed here on your screen. These colleges comprise 150 undergraduate degree programs here at Texas Tech. You can see we've got a lot of different offerings from College of Agricultural and Natural Sciences, all the way down to the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts. The Honors College that you see listed on here is a separate application process. Students can apply concurrently for both admission to Texas Tech and admissions to our Honors College. And we say that our Honors College really is a liberal arts education on a very large campus housed in that Honors College. Now we're going to get into some of our policy changes for the fall 2022 application cycle. And again, I encourage you, if you do have any questions, please feel free to utilize that Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. First and foremost, Texas Tech is continuing with our test optional admission policy for the class of fall 2022. We are test optional for both admission and scholarship purposes. And all students have to do to notify us that they're test optional is check mark a box on the application. So if they would like to designate themselves as being test optional, it's very simple for them. If students identify as being test optional, they will go through our holistic application review process. This is a full file review that we'll actually talk about here in just a few slides in more detail. If students have already sent their test scores to Texas Tech, but they would now like to be considered test optional, they can contact our office and we will hide those scores from consideration in the application review as long as their file has not been completed yet. So if they sat for a test and they just happen to put Texas Tech down as an institution to receive their scores, no worries at all. They can contact us and we can hide that from consideration. Now, on the flip side of that, if we have students who apply to the institution that are test optional, that may have been waitlisted or may have been denied to the institution, all students can ask to be reevaluated if they supply a test score to accompany their file. They don't have to reapply. They just need to request a reevaluation from us and submit that test score. All students, regardless of residency, so for all of our out-of-state students, the Texas legislature requires that all students meet the requirements for TSI, which is called the Texas Success Initiative. And this is just a college readiness program. Some students can be exempt from taking this TSI exam by using their SAT or ACT scores, but all students that are test optional need to make sure that they are TSI compliant. And that just needs to happen before enrollment at the institution. That does not need to happen whenever they're going through the admissions process. We just like to put this on this slide so that everyone's aware. Before they enroll, we need to make sure they're TSI compliant. And now for our restricted academic programs, we do have a few programs here at Texas Tech that require students to be automatically admitted. And that's automatically admitted based off of their test score and class ranking. So if students apply test optional, let's say for our College of Engineering or our College of Business, we could still admit them to Texas Tech, but then their file goes to that academic college for admission into that specific degree program. If they are not admitted into that degree program, they are still admitted to Texas Tech, just going into one of our Explorer programs or one of their second choice majors. We have a video and a website dedicated to informing students about test optional and the implications of being test optional at the website you see here listed at the bottom of your slide. Another big change for Texas Tech going into this academic year is that we have now implemented the self-reported academic record. You may hear us refer to this as the SRAR or the SRAR, but again, this is the self-reported academic record. This allows students to self-report all of their high school grades and the rigor in those courses through the platform SRAR. We are no longer accepting transcripts for students that are going through the application review process or applying to Texas Tech for their initial review. I'll say that one more time. You no longer need to send us transcripts for any student that is applying to Texas Tech for their initial review. Now, we'll still ask you to send a final copy of their transcript upon enrollment after they graduate from your high school, but they no longer need to worry about sending that to us. Students will be able to self-report not only their grades and their courses and their rigor, but they will also be reporting their assigned class ranking from their high school as well, if you have an assigned rank. If not, Texas Tech will still calculate a rank for them. So we encourage all students to have a copy of their transcript with them when they're filling out this self-reported academic record, just to make sure that it's completely accurate. Students must access the SRAR platform through our Texas Tech portal, which the website is listed here on your slide. And this ensures that their SRAR is directly tied to us at Texas Tech so that we can receive that. So again, they need to access their Rater Connect account and then submit the self-reported academic record. I know this may seem a little bit overwhelming, but we have an entire website with a 15-minute tutorial video for students to watch that really takes them step by step through the entire SRAR process and how to self-report that to us. If you have students that might be applying to other institutions who are also accepting the SRAR, the system will allow them to copy over everything that they filled out previously and tie that back to us here at Texas Tech. So that's self-reported academic record. Next, we're going to talk about our applications here at Texas Tech. If you've joined us previously, you know that last year we implemented the Common App for the very first time, and we decided we didn't have enough work to do, so we actually implemented a new application for this application cycle. We are now accepting the Coalition application as well. So Texas Tech currently has 3 applications that we accept for admission. That's Common App and Coalition, like I've already mentioned, and Apply Texas, which is the state mandated application system that all public institutions have to accept. We do not have a preference over any application that students are filling out. We just need one of them to be submitted. And we get this question before, the section in Common App or in Apply Texas, where students can enter their grades or their classes that they have into that system. They do not have to do that on the application platform. They can skip right over that section and just make sure to submit that through the SRAR system. Now we'll jump into some of our admissions criteria, things that we're looking for the admissions cycle. First of all, this is the slide that details everything that that a student needs to submit in order to be complete. Again, we accept those 3 applications. Now, I know many of you are from outside the state of Texas, but if you have students in the past who have utilized the Apply Texas application, please know that the link for Apply Texas has changed. So if you have this bookmarked somewhere and you're familiar with Apply Texas, please just know that now it is goapplytexas.org, because they have changed their entire application platform. Our application fee here at Texas Tech is $75, and I'll talk about fee waiver opportunities on the next slide. And then we have the self-reported academic record, and obviously optional if they choose to submit their SAT or ACT scores. Our notification of a decision here at Texas Tech takes 2 to 4 weeks. So from the time everything on this slide is submitted for your students, they will have an answer back no longer than 4 weeks' time. We are on a rolling admission cycle, so we've actually already been issuing decisions for fall 2022, if you can believe that. But again, 2 to 4 weeks is our notification window for decisions. Now for fee waivers for the application, you can see our information here for fee waivers. We actually prefer doing a direct income verification with the student's FAFSA application. If you have students at your school who qualify with their income level for the federal free and reduced lunch program, we will do that direct income verification as soon as the FAFSA opens and their FAFSA has been submitted. If they're not eligible to submit a FAFSA or they're not planning to, they can submit our fee waiver form, which is found on our website. We would just ask that they supply some supporting documentation like their income tax form or things like that. So now getting into our admission standards, I'm going to start off by talking here for those students who are planning to take and report their SAT or ACT scores. We do have a published automatic admission policy here at the university. This is based on a student's assigned class ranking, as you can see on the left-hand side of this chart, and we compare that class ranking to their ACT or their SAT score. Now, if you're at a non-ranking high school, Texas Tech will still assign a class ranking to you, to your students based on their unweighted GPA, and we will handle that internally. If your student would like to know what their assigned class ranking is, they can just touch base with our admissions office and we can let them know. But again, if they meet this criteria here, they're going to be automatically admitted to the institution, no questions asked, and also automatically admitted to their first choice major as well. So this is our assured admission process. Now for students who are applying test optional, or for students who do not meet our published automatic admission process, they will go through our full file holistic review. We encourage every student to submit at least one of the essay prompts on Apply Texas, Common App, or Coalition. We encourage them to report all of their academic course rigor that they have, and then we accept up to 3 letters of recommendation as well. More information, again, can be found at that test optional link at the bottom of the slide. Now, we do get this question a lot. Are the published admission criteria that I showed on the previous slide eligible for out-of-state students? Yes, our published automatic admission standards go for every applicant, regardless of what state that they are from. So if they meet that criteria, once again, they'll be automatically admitted. Now, some important dates for all of you to keep in mind for Texas Tech. Obviously, the FAFSA still opens on October the 1st. Our fall priority deadline for scholarships will be December the 1st. Now, our scholarship application will stay open after December 1st. However, our scholarship office will begin awarding scholarships in early December. So in order to be eligible for the most money possible, we really encourage every student to submit that application no later than December 1st. And something new for Texas Tech this year that we have not done in the past is we now have a hard deadline for students to accept their scholarship package. So once a notification is made to them, they will have to notify us by May the 1st of 2022 that they are accepting their scholarship package. So if you'll help us communicate that out, we would greatly appreciate it. But again, that is something new where they have to go on and accept that scholarship. So speaking of scholarships, let's dive in a little bit into our amazing scholarships that we have here at Texas Tech. Again, the first one I'm going to show you is for students who are choosing to report their SAT or ACT scores. So this chart actually is staying the same from last year. Nothing has changed here. But what you're looking at on the top columns of this chart is the students assigned class ranking. And again, if you are in a non-ranking school, we will use our internal ranking that we have assigned that student. We compare that class ranking to a minimum score on the SAT or ACT test on the left-hand rows that you can see that go in accordance with that. So these scholarships are automatic. As soon as students are admitted to the university, this scholarship will be applied to their file and they'll receive notification in about 2 weeks. Any other scholarship that students receive from Texas Tech will actually stack on top of this dollar amount. So this is just the minimum that they might be eligible for if they're choosing to test on the SAT or ACT. Now, I know many of you are from outside the state of Texas, like I said. One amazing thing that we have here at the university is that if any student qualifies for $1,000 in scholarships from the university or more, we will automatically waive out-of-state tuition and give that student in-state tuition. So I'll say that again. If you have students who qualify for at least $1,000 in scholarships, they will automatically receive in-state tuition with us, no questions asked. That's pretty great for our students coming from outside of Texas. I also want to draw your attention to the top left-hand corner of this chart for our National Merit finalists. If you have any students who are named a National Merit finalist, Texas Tech will provide a full ride scholarship, essentially. It covers their full cost of attendance here at the institution for 4 years, as long as they select Texas Tech as their institution of choice. So again, that's for any student who's named a National Merit finalist. Now, for our students who are planning to be test optional for this year, we do have merit scholarships available for that population as well. These students, very similar to the review process I walked you through for admission purposes to Texas Tech, they will go through that same process for scholarships as well. Our scholarships team will evaluate their file holistically, and every document they submit will be under consideration. Now, if students who initially apply as test optional would then like to submit a test score to potentially qualify for one of our published scholarships, they can do so until May the 1st of their senior year. So if they end up testing a little bit later in the year and they would like to report that, they can always send that in again until May 1st of their senior year to try to qualify for a higher scholarship package. Now, to talk a little bit about our estimated cost of attendance here, residents of Texas are going to be in the second column of this chart. Our non-resident tuition is going to be on the far right-hand side. Texas Tech only sends a bill to students for their tuition and fees and their room and board. The other three costs that you see here are indirect expenses just for your students to use when they're estimating their college expenses. So you can see if students qualify for that in-state tuition rate, that's really going to essentially save them $12,000 to $13,000 right off the bat for in-state tuition. And then their scholarship package applies to the in-state tuition rate. So if they get the discounted rate of in-state tuition by getting that scholarship, their scholarship will then apply to that in-state tuition rate. Now, just to wrap up a Texas Tech's portion of today's presentation, just to show you some brief things. If you have students who are not already in contact with Texas Tech and you would like to get them on our list, you would like to have an admissions counselor reach out to them, we've got a great way for you as their counselor to just submit their information to us, and it's our referral program. Again, that link is here on your slide in case you want to get a student in contact with us. Currently, as of 12:25 Central Time, we are allowing in-person visits on our campus. That can always change, as we all know, but we just wanted to advertise to you that we do have a Texas Tech preview program coming up on October the 11th. This is our open house event. It's kind of, we refer to it as our one-stop shop for students to learn more about the university. So if you have students that are interested in coming to campus, this is a great way for them to see it. This is also a home football game weekend as well. So if they would like to buy tickets to one of our home football games, it's a great way just to extend their weekend a little bit and stay for that visit. We are also offering in-person campus tours as well. These will be Monday through Friday and on select Saturdays every month. And they can make their tour reservations right there on that link here on the slide. And then lastly, I just wanted to end by telling you, if you ever want a presentation from Texas Tech, if you would like one of our admissions counselors to talk to any of your students, you can reach out to me directly. My email address is listed here on the slide. We do have an amazing team of out-of-state admissions counselors. We have Jen Miller, who is based in our Denver, Colorado area, and then we have April Tipton, who is based in our Southern California region. But our entire team of admissions counselors can virtually cover basically the entire United States. So even if you're not in those two states and you would still like to have an admissions presentation, please reach out to me and we would be more than happy to get that scheduled with your admissions counselor. But I just wanted to say thank you so much again for attending today. On behalf of Texas Tech, we are very lucky that we have great partners in higher education at the University of Houston. And so I'm now going to pass things off to Mardell Maxwell with the University of Houston. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much, Rex, and good afternoon, everyone. Perhaps maybe good morning, if depending on where you are in the country. And thank you again for attending today's Counselor Update event. We're so honored that you are here today, and we have some brief moments to share about our great institutions. What I want to do is just take a brief moment, maybe about a minute and a half, and just give you a moment to stretch your legs, or if you need to get a drink of water, whatever it may be. But let's resume our time together here in about a minute. All right, so I will see you back here shortly. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Dr. Mardell Maxwell, and I have the honor of serving as Executive Director of Admissions at the University of Houston. I've been with the University of Houston for a little over 4 years. A little about me, I was a first-generation college student. I grew up in a military community in the Midwest. So I know today we have a number of folks that are not from Texas or maybe currently located outside the state of Texas. I resonate with that. I'm from Kansas, grew up in a military community. And I remember like yesterday being in high school, being a high school senior and trying to figure out what it is that I was going to do next. So it's my lived experiences that have brought me to this profession. And I'm passionate about helping your students move to and through college. Today, my goal is to share why there is no better time than now for your students to choose Houston. We'll briefly talk about the application process. We'll discuss a few process enhancements we have here at the university. Lastly, we'll leave some time at the end for questions. There are a few University of Houston staff members on today's video call, and they're going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, feel free to send those in, and our great staff members will assist with those questions along the way. So let's go ahead and get started. Where I want to start this afternoon is talking a little bit about where we are. The University of Houston, we're located in the 4th largest city in the US. Our city is home to the largest medical center in the world. We have numerous Fortune 500 companies. We have professional sports teams, and we're considered the energy capital of the world. This is a place where your students can finish their accounting class in the afternoon, then go to a Rockets game or a Beyonce concert. This is a campus that is rich with culture and cuisine. And I like to think that our campus is unique because from here, your students can really see the world. We're home. We're the third largest university in the state of Texas. We affectionately call ourselves the Powerhouse. We're more than 46,000 powerful students call this university home. We're a Carnegie Knight Tier 1 research university, similar to our partners at Texas Tech, which means that our campuses are among the top 2% of research universities in America. Our students here represent nearly every county in Texas, 46 different states around the country, and more than 130 different nations around the world. As a non-Texan, I remember visiting the University of Houston for the first time several years ago. And I remember in my short walk across the street on campus, hearing 4 different languages spoken by our students. In fact, we know that there are more than 45 different languages that are spoken across our student body. So again, this University of Houston, this is a place where your students can truly feel and experience and see this world. The student experience here is one that is very vibrant for your students. To give a couple of examples, we are recognized and widely known to be one of the most diverse campuses in America. And beyond diversity, we have really placed a continued effort and focus on the inclusion. We want to make sure that when your students come to our campus, that they are prepared for, that there is an environment that is ready for them to really be a home away from home. Now, speaking of the Powerhouse, there's buzz that the University of Houston may be joining a Power 5 athletic conference sometime soon. My goal today isn't to break any news, but just know that this is a campus where your students will have access to top-notch experience, whether it's through our athletics, whether it's through our Greek life, more than 500 different student organizations. We have an amazing state-of-the-art recreation center and different campus ministries. Whatever it is that your students are looking to do and to learn and to be a part of, the University of Houston has that tremendous experience. I mentioned athletics, but I definitely have to note of the great experience that athletics can often provide, the college experience. Our 2021 NCAA men's basketball team had quite a successful season, made it all the way to the Final Four. And I know that our students and our fans really enjoyed that experience. But that is just a taste of the many different sort of experiences that your students will get a chance to have as being a part of the Cougar community. We are a growing residential campus. About 70% of our students are from the state of Texas. And we have a growing population of non-Texans as well as international students as well. And so what we have really invested in as a campus community is more opportunities for students to have top-notch living environment on campus. On this slide here, and again, we're going to provide you with a copy of all these slides, but this slide here shows the different residential housing opportunities we have, whether it's traditional housing options where a student may have be in a room with one roommate, or we have different apartment in a loft style residential options for students to choose from as well. So this is a great place to not only learn, but also a tremendous place for your students to live. Let's talk a little bit about academics. As I mentioned earlier, we are a Carnegie Knight Tier 1 research university, among the top research universities in the country. Our professors, our faculty members come loaded with rankings and awards for the tremendous work that they are doing in their teaching and their research efforts. Our academic programs, we have more than 110 different undergraduate programs or majors for your students to pursue, many of which are nationally recognized. In the interest of time, I won't go through them all, but I do want to highlight a few that we typically will see, especially for our out-of-state students, will show interest in. So to give you a couple of examples, our architecture program has been ranked the 31st best architecture program in the United States. College Factual just named our School of Music the #1 best College of Music program in the country. Our College of Business, and I can't think of a better place to really not only learn, but to be engaged in learning business than the 4th largest city in the US. But our College of Business It represents 68 different countries around the world that are represented amongst our student body in our College of Business. 75% of our students will find themselves with an internship before they graduate. And our entrepreneurship program is our crown jewel. Our entrepreneurship program has been ranked either #1 or #2 in the country consecutively for the past 13 years. Last but certainly not least, our Hilton College for Hotel and Restaurant Management program has been globally recognized as one of the best restaurant and hotel management programs in the world. We are fortunate to have a special relationship and partnership with the Hilton family, where we have, in fact, just right behind me, if you could see right out my window, is our Hilton Hotel. Our students run the hotel. And we have also a restaurant named after one of the sons of the Hilton family, Conrad Hilton. That restaurant is also run by our hotel and restaurant management students. So our students are great at getting tremendous experience. But if you ever come and visit Houston, we encourage you to live on campus at our campus Hilton Hotel. We also have several different graduate and professional schools, and one of which that we're really excited and proud of is our new College of Medicine. We have on our campus, our College of Medicine is focused on developing primary care physicians who will serve underserved communities. I just saw just this morning from our university president, a new clinic that has been created in downtown Houston for our homeless population. And so our college, our university, but particularly our College of Medicine, is really bringing care and resources to areas of our communities that need it the most. And we're really excited about the first cohort of medical school students that are now with us here at the university. Let's talk about, for your students interested in the university, what the steps they need to take to apply and hopefully get admitted and become a new part of our Cougar community. Our steps will be very similar as to our great partners at Texas Tech, as well as many other universities around the state. For us, we have 2 different application platforms for your students to choose from. They can visit the Common App or Apply Texas to submit an application for admission. We will ask your students to indicate 3 major choices in order of preference, and we will consider them for admission based on those major selections. We are a test optional school, and so on the admissions application, we will ask your students to tell us whether they want to be considered for admission with or without a test scores, an ACT or SAT test. Lastly, we will ask students on the application to provide us with a short admissions essay. When I say short, the max is 1,000 words or less. Admissions essay, there will be some prompts or some topics that they can choose from, and they will be able to submit their brief admissions essay on the application platform. We also will ask your students to provide us with a bit more information about the great work that they are doing outside of the classroom. What are the leadership opportunities? It could be service, community service, maybe it's awards or committees or organizations that they are a part of. There will be a section of our admissions application for them to tell us. This will allow us to get to know them beyond just their grades or their test scores. We encourage students to make sure that they fill out those sections of the admissions application as we take them through an admissions review. Step number 2 is our application fee. For our students here in the United States, we have a $75 application fee. For any international students that may be served, we have a $90 application fee. I always like to explain why is the application fee is important, especially in this work of college access and understanding the impact of college costs. Most admission offices around the country, and the University of Houston is one of them. We all of the services that are provided to help your students navigate through the college admissions process are funded through the application fee. So staff members that process the application, technologies that support students through this process, none of that is free. And so the application fee, typically in an admissions office, will support those services. I love explaining the why. As an admissions director, I love explaining the why behind why some of these things exist. So we do have a $75 application fee for your students. We also will honor and accept requests for application fee waivers. So if any of your students are coming from low-income families, low-income communities, maybe they're on free and reduced lunch, we encourage them to use the NACAC fee waiver. They can send that to their admissions counselor, their admissions representative. They can also email it to admissions@uh.edu. We provide that email address for you later in this presentation, and we will process that request. Beyond family income, we also are honoring fee requests for students, for families that just may have been impacted because we are in a pandemic, and we know that the pandemic isn't just a health crisis. It is also a financial and an economic one. So if any of your students have been negatively impacted financially through this pandemic, maybe when their family have filed their taxes, it may not show up there, but maybe a family member just recently lost a job or had a job change that may not be reflected in their last tax work, for example, or filling out when they fill out the FAFSA. We want to know about it. They can tell us about that on the fee waiver request form, and we will honor that as well. Step number 3 is similar to Texas Tech. I was so excited when I heard that they are transitioning away from paper transcripts. We believe in that as well. We also we want students to self-report their transcript information. A little bit different in our process is that we are only focused on students self-reporting the courses in their math, science, English, and social studies work in high school. We are not diminishing or devaluing the other courses that students may take, such as art courses or music courses, or if they're any in sort of physical education or weight training. Those courses are too important. But a little bit later, I'm going to talk about the work that we're doing to retain students and ultimately help them graduate. And what we have found statistically significant in our retention work here, in our data work, is that students who perform well in math, science, English, and social studies are significantly more likely to do well at the University of Houston. So we place an emphasis in those 4 subject areas. Therefore, when your students self-report their coursework, we're going to be asking for courses in those 4 subject areas: math, science, English, and social studies. What we have found so far is that most students will self-report approximately 12 courses. Some will have a little more, may have a little bit more. It's not common, but there may be some students that have a little less, but on average, students will self-report about 12 courses across those 4 subject areas. And we're finding that students are finishing the self-reporting process in 20 minutes or less. So step number 3 should not take very long for students that are doing it with the University of Houston. Lastly, step number 4 is if students are applying for admission with a test score, that we will we want them to have the testing agency, whether it's ACT or College Board, to send their scores directly to us at the University of Houston. And in all the materials we provide, we provide our digit codes for the ACT and the SAT for that to be sent. Again, if you have any questions about the application process, you're welcome to send your questions in, and our staff members that are on the call here today will help assist with those questions. Now, we know that for many of you, and definitely for us, self-reporting is new. So we do have some resources to help you and your students navigate through this process. I've provided in the presentation today links to our step-by-step self-reporting guide. Again, about 12 courses students will self-report, should take no more than 20 minutes to complete, but we provide the step-by-step of how to complete that process. We also have a video tutorial. When you'll get this slide deck here, you'll be able to click the link and it'll take you to the video tutorial. And we also have a dedicated website for self-reporting as well. We provide you with the link so you and your students can visit that as a resource to help navigate through this really important step of the admissions process. Now let's talk about what it takes to get admitted. We have 2 sets of requirements. What you see here in front of you are assured admission requirements for students if they're applying with a test score. In the state of Texas, for most institutions in the state of Texas, you receive automatic admission if your school ranks, if your students are in the top 10% of their graduating class at the University of Houston, their admission is automatic. We use the term assured admission. Beyond the top 10%, you will see some qualifications based on class rank and test score, ACT or SAT score. If your school does not rank, your students are not disadvantaged in the process. We do take students through what we call an individual review. And this is where the essay, the admissions essay, as well as the extracurricular activities, work experience, awards, accomplishments, that is where that information becomes really important in the admissions application. We'll be able to leverage and utilize that information through an individual review process. If your students are applying without a test score, again, as part of our test optional program, you'll see we have a set of requirements here as well. Again, if your school ranks and they're in the top 10%, automatic admission, they're in. Beyond that, you'll see we have a scale here based on class rank and what we call a calculated unweighted GPA. What this is that we will have a calculated GPA based on the math, the science, the English, and the social studies courses that the students will provide to us. We know that for you all as a school, you will have likely a weighted and or an unweighted GPA that you'll have on a student's transcript that is inclusive of all the courses that they take. What we will do at the University of Houston is we're going to look at just the math, the science, the English, and the social studies. We'll see what their GPA is among those courses, and we'll use that as a part of the admissions evaluation based on what the student's class rank is. Again, just a reminder, if your school does not rank, they're not penalized for that. We'll take them through an individual review process, which will take a look at their admissions essay, all of the activities that, as well as their calculated GPA across those 4 subject areas. Now, I want to take a moment here to pause and just to share something that I'm really passionate about. The work that we're trying to do in admissions, and my work as an admissions director, is not just to get students into college. One of the most significant parts of the work that we do is how can we make sure that your students are set up for success to not only move to college, but most importantly, to move through college. We're not just about the front gates of the institution. We're about helping them make sure that they graduate. All right. And one of the ways that we do that is by focusing on preparedness. For us here at the University of Houston, when we talk about preparedness, it's their effectiveness across the math, the science, the English, and the social studies. But we also know that successful college students are ones that are highly engaged. It's students that come to our campus. They don't just lock themselves in their residence hall room and don't engage with other people. They're highly involved in activities, in clubs and organizations. They're participating in intramural sports. High level of engagement increases the morale of our students, increases the level of affinity that they have for their college campus, and the commitment that they have when things get difficult in college. They're less likely to quit when they're highly engaged in their campus community. So we want to see that your students are engaged in their school or their church or their local community. We want to see that they're already doing that before they come to the University of Houston. I'm incredibly proud to say that this is a campus that has been dedicated and focused on the retention and the graduation of our students. We have significantly increased well above the national average, the rate of improving the retention of our students. And in particular, I'm saying this as a young Black man, professional, is that our students that are coming from underserved communities, many students that may not have the similar resources to prepare themselves for college, particularly our Black and brown students, our retention rate has been going through the roof here on our campus. How are we doing it? Again, I'm sharing this with you because these are things I want you to share with your students. How are we doing it here on our campus? It's really about the holistic support. It is not only about the academic preparedness of your students, but it's acknowledging that the mental, financial, and emotional well-being of your students is equally important to seeing them graduate. We can have a straight A student come to our campus, but if they are not well financially, emotionally, and mentally, they will be incredibly challenged to finish college no matter where they go. Vice versa, we could have a student who is doing well financially and mentally and emotionally, but they're not academically prepared, and that students too will struggle. So the support that your students are going to have here, whether it's tutors, free tutoring services, whether it's going to be setting them up with counselors to help them with the mental and emotional support. We know that the anxiety and the stress of our young people is incredibly high. So making sure that they have free and accessible resources for them in those areas, And then lastly, the financial support. We're going to end this presentation here in a couple of minutes talking about the money, but it's making sure that your students are getting full access to the financial resources to help them not only get to college, but to stay in it, be able to continue to cover the cost of their education and to pay those school bills, and be able to earn that college degree is incredibly important. So all that to say, these are the things that are important to us. These are the things that we're looking for when we're evaluating your students. It's not just about the ACT and the SAT. And to be honest, it's not just about their high school GPA. It's all of these things in tandem. It's the compounding effects of their well-being academically, financially, mentally, emotionally that plays a role in their success in college, and especially what we know in our own data, their success here at the University of Houston. All that to say, your students can be taken care of when they come to us, all right? Now let's round this out. We have a couple of academic programs. Texas Tech mentioned this, and we're very similar in this respect. Some of our academic programs require a higher level of readiness. The rigor is just at another level. Your students want to come into architecture or engineering or business. There are some additional requirements that they're going to have to meet in order to be admitted into those programs. And so we'll be able to share that with your students. Information will be accessible in the materials we send you, as well as on our website. If you happen to serve any transfer students who may choose to go to a 2 or a 4-year school and then maybe want to come to the University of Houston a little bit later, we have some very simple requirements here, or we want to see some preparedness and some readiness for our students before as they're making that transition to the University of Houston. And then lastly, we want your students to be prepared to be applying to college this fall over the course of the next couple of months. Our scholarship priority deadline is November 1. That'll be coming up here before we know it. All right, close to about a month and a half, we're going to hit our scholarship priority deadline. If your students apply and complete their application, when I say complete, that means they submitted their admissions application. That means that they self-reported their grades, and it means that they paid their application fee or requested a fee waiver. If they do these 3 steps by November 1 or sooner, we guarantee that they will be considered for our scholarship awards. We have everything starting from $1,000 all the way up to having full tuition that is covered. And what we say here at the University of Houston, again, similar to our partners, want to give some kudos to Texas Tech. I love that they do this as well, is that if your students receive at least a $1,000 scholarship, okay, they're not a resident of Texas, they receive at least a $1,000 scholarship, we waive out-of-state tuition, okay? So if you're in California, if you're in Chicago, if you're in Orlando, wherever you are outside the state of Texas today, your students apply by the November 1, complete their application. If they receive at least a $1,000 scholarship from us, we waive out-of-state tuition. You can consider that like additional monies that they are getting here at the university. I think that's a great deal. I think that is an absolute great deal, okay? Then, of course, we have the FAFSA. Want your students to be applying for the FAFSA. We know that there's a lot of life changes that are happening for families. So even if families don't think they may qualify for any sort of grants, work study opportunities, we want them to apply for the FAFSA anyway, because you never know how life may change, how family finances may change. So we encourage students complete the FAFSA by that priority deadline of January 15th. All right. If we have any Texans here in the room, if you're serving any students here in the state of Texas, I do just want to mention our Cougar Promise program. For our Texans, what we have is that because there's no waiving of out-of-state tuition for our Texans, our Cougar Promise program is if we have any families in Texas, their family income is less than $65,000 a year, we guarantee that we will cover the full cost of tuition for that student. For any families that make above $65,000, 65 to 125,000 family income, there will be varying levels of tuition support. We could be paying half of the tuition, 75% of tuition. It just depends on what the family income is. So we have any Texans here in the room. Again, another tremendous way for us to say we need to make sure that there's financial well-being for our students. We don't have to stress about the money. They can be in the classroom and fully focused on doing well. We'll provide you with the cost here as well. I won't go through all the details, but for our out-of-state folks here today, aside from waiving the out-of-state tuition, listen, if you tell me you're going to come to an institution that's a tier 1 research university with all the resources of being in the 4th largest city in the US, And again, my goal is not to break no news, but you mean to tell me you're going to have some Power 5 athletic experiences here as well? And oh, by the way, about $27,000 is what it would cost to come here. And you might get out-of-state tuition waived. Come on now, y'all got to tell me. I don't know what else better you're going to tell me today. So I think this is a tremendous financial opportunity for your students to get quality education, an outstanding experience, and not have to be have all this debt looming for students as they're starting their career. I think this is a great opportunity for your students to consider. Lastly, we need your students to see it firsthand. I'm the cheerleader for the University of Houston. I believe in this place. I uprooted my family from the Midwest to come here because I believe in the University of Houston and the great work that it is doing. I wanted to be a part of it. But I can talk about it all day, but it does nothing if your students don't have an opportunity to experience it for themselves. So number one, we recognize that for some of your students and their families, it may be difficult for them to travel for Houston, whether it be because of time and or money. So we do have a tremendous virtual campus experience. Our virtual tour is set up to where it is live. You'll log in at the assigned campus tour time, and we have a team of current students who will give you a virtual tour. It could be for parents, counselors, students, whoever want to take part of it. You'll have an opportunity to engage, interact, and ask questions of our current students while taking a virtual tour. If you have the opportunity to come to Texas, to come to Houston, I hope you can, because our city is beautiful, our food is great, and our campus is tremendous as well. So we want you to have the opportunity to come, and we have really invested a lot of time the last several months to offering a safe campus tour. We're masked up. We wear these little microphones so you can still hear us. We keep our tour group small. We spread you out. And at the end of the day, we are in South Texas. It does get a little hot. So we go inside buildings and air conditioning as much as we possibly can as well to make sure you stay cool as well. So we have a tremendous campus tour experience, whether you want to do it virtually or whether you're actually able to join us in person on campus as well. We hope that you can see firsthand why there is not a better time than now for your students to consider a special place such as the University of Houston. With that, thank you for joining us today. It has been an honor, along with Texas Tech. It has been an honor to host you, and I wish you well as you all navigate through the rest of this school year. And I want to echo the sentiments of Rex earlier in saying we so appreciate you and the tremendous work that you are doing. Rex, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Mardell. I appreciate that. Once again, everyone, as Mardell mentioned, thank you so much for being here today in your busy schedule. We will stay on for a few extra minutes just to answer any questions that you have through the Q&A. But if you don't have any questions, that will end the formal part of today's presentation. Go out and have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see all of you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.